that empty feeling inside of her body went away because she didn't feel lonely. That's interoception. Welcome to the Fascia-Informed Therapist podcast, designed for health and wellness practitioners interested in fascia science. I'm Amy Mayer, occupational therapist, practice owner, author, and educator with more than 30 years of experience using fascia techniques across many settings. Each episode brings practical insights and thought-provoking conversations to help you expand your skills and better serve your clients. Let's get started. Hi, this is Amy, and this is another edition of the Fascia-Informed Therapist. I'm trying to find my stride in 2026. If you've listened to the podcast for the last few months, you know that 2025, there was a lot of change for me, a lot of big projects and some loss as well. So I think I'm going to change things up in 2026 and probably do fewer episodes. I'm still trying to figure out what exactly that's going to look like, and probably going to go with a Monday drop date or drop day, so I can use Monday as a work day to put things together and then get the information out to you. So I thought today I would talk about something that's pretty commonly discussed this time of year, and that's New Year's resolutions. Kind of maybe been done many times. I've talked about New Year's resolutions many times in the past on my newsletter. And if you are subscribed to the Mayor Wellness newsletter, Mayor Wellness is my clinical side, then you probably saw this. But anyway, I wanted people to think differently about New Year's resolutions, because we tend to, most people automatically gravitate towards some kind of exercise. I got to start exercising. There's so much pressure to exercise, and we know it's good for us. We know it's good for us. We know we should do it. But as Daniel Lieberman would say, he's an anthropologist. Daniel Lieberman would say, we're not wired to exercise. We're wired to conserve energy. And our biology is a mismatch with today's modern convenience culture. So anyway, we're not wired to, but we put a lot of pressure on ourselves. And I recently asked one of my clients, so are you a New Year's resolution person? And he said, why on earth would I put myself through that? Which is kind of how I feel. I feel like if there's something I really feel like I need to do, I'm just going to start doing it or not. I mean, I don't like artificial deadlines. I don't like other people telling me what to do, or other entities or culture. I like to kind of march to my own drum, I guess you could say. And by my own drum, I mean kind of my internal clock, my energy, where is my energy being pulled to? And it's rarely exercise, but I will say about a month and a half ago, maybe, I was really kind of getting tired of being burnt out. And I made myself exercise in the morning, which I have never been a morning exerciser. And I do not like to exercise. That's no secret if you've been listening to me at all. But I'm a morning exerciser now, which is pretty wild. The only exercise I found that I really enjoy and will make me sweat a little bit and breathe heavy is a virtual reality workout called Supernatural. And if you're not familiar with it, check it out. It's got music and virtual environments that are really cool. And anyway, it's super fun. You can look up more on that if you want to. It's Supernatural is the title of the workout, and it's part of a virtual reality system. So anyway, okay, so when I sent my newsletter out to my clients, I wanted to get them thinking about New Year's resolutions differently. And if there's someone who thinks they should be exercising, some people do, trying to do a new way of eating, but a lot of people do make a New Year's resolution around exercise. And we know this because the gym culture is out there saying, hey, we're going to give you this big discount because we know you want to get started with a whole new exercise plan in 2026. So they're out there trying to pull people in to the gyms and to do, use their equipment or to get into the classes that they have. And I'm not saying that any of that is bad at all. I'm not a gym person, but I know a lot of people who are. So I'm not saying that's bad at all. And what I want people to think about is, what is your body ready for? Because I've had more than a handful of people get injured in the new year because they jumped into an exercise program they just weren't ready for. And so we're not going to focus specifically on fascia today, but thinking about fascia is your foundation of your body. And if it's not healthy, everything else is going to struggle a little bit inside your body. So I want people to think about how ready is their body for physical activity. And we know, especially in the United States, our culture has, we've got more people who are sedentary, more people are overweight. We've got the biggest percentage of people who can be classified as obese than we've ever had in the past. Our life expectancy is lowering because of all that. There was data that came out a few years ago where the generation being born now is not going to live as long as the generation before, as we've always been gaining longevity because of science and what we're learning, but it's gone the other direction. So because more people are sedentary, because more people put on weight, and because of the convenience culture, because of the type of food that a lot of people are eating, we have to think about our readiness and our resiliency and how safe is it really to jump into something that is maybe too much for the body. And a story that I frequently go back to is a woman who was a client of mine who decided she was going to do this online, or I can't remember if hers was online or DVD based, but it was a lot of the people in the exercise videos were half her age and extremely fit, and they were asking her to do, I don't want to say the name of this, so I don't want to get in trouble by anybody. But, imagine yourself on a beach, and that might give you a clue. But she was not ready for what they were asking her to do. I mean, these were things like burpees. And, if I never see another burpee the rest of my life, that would be just fine. But her body was definitely not ready for that. But nobody has ever said to her, well, maybe you should start here rather than at that level. And that's what I guess I want to get across to you today is how are you helping your clients? If you're somebody that sees clients, how are you helping them think about their New Year's resolutions or their fitness readiness? And so the first thing I talk about is diaphragmatic breathing. That I think is the foundation to, it's a low-hanging fruit to health. It's a foundational aspect of being a little bit healthier. And we're born diaphragmatic breathers, but in my practice over the years, I would say about 90% of the people that come in are chest breathers. And a small portion of them can make that switch once you tell them to, but some of them really, it takes practice to get back into a pattern of diaphragmatic breathing. And that diaphragm should be moving on with every breath that we take. And if we are chest breathing, then we're not getting a full breath. We're not getting the kind of breath that's going to really help us make some kind of fitness goals. You'll get by. A lot of bodies can get by, but you're probably working harder than you need to, and it's going to probably cause problems in the long run. So I provided a little video that I made with a fitness coach friend of mine on how to properly diaphragmatically breathe, and we walk people through it. And if you want to watch that video, it's on YouTube, but it is on Fascia-Informed Fitness is the name of that particular channel. The next thing I talk about is pain, and that can be a huge barrier to good exercise because so many people will start some kind of exercise program, and as soon as they feel pain, they stop and they feel like they've failed. A lot of people have pain lingering in their bodies, and they're maybe scared to start a fitness program, or they do it anyway, and then they have pain. But the message I tried to give in this newsletter was more about how addressing that pain first is going to help you exercise better. Because if you're consciously or unconsciously protecting an area of your body, and then there's a demand for movement, then that movement is going to be transferred somewhere else into another joint or different muscles and cause compensatory type movements. And where we most commonly see that, or where I most commonly see that, is if somebody's got tight hips, especially when they're walking, you sort of start to see that rotational element that should be coming from the hip joints move up into the lower spine. And then you've got all this movement in the spine that the spine isn't meant to do that over and over and over with every step. Spine is able to move, but do we want it moving with every single step we take? Not that much. Some, but not that much. Also the same thing with the shoulders. If you can't comfortably reach up with your shoulder, then you're going to feel the compensation is going to come in the mid to upper spine. And yes, the spine can move. We want it to be able to move, but do we want it to take over the movement that should be coming from the shoulders? No. So my message to them is let's take care of this pain and then move in, or do it in parallel as you start into some gentle movement, and encouraging them to seek out a practitioner like myself, or probably like many of you, that can help them learn how to address that pain and then move more comfortably and probably find more success in starting some kind of fitness. The next area I encourage them to think about is stress. And there's plenty of evidence out there now that shows how you can just walk right through how stress turns into tension in the body, particularly in the fascia. And when there's tension in the fascia, that's going to restrict blood flow, restrict lymphatic flow, restrict joint movement and muscle function. And you don't necessarily, and it's not realistic to eliminate all your stress. Rather, what I'm suggesting is that you start to think about how might stress be a part of how your body functions. And can you start dealing with managing that stress? Can you start noticing how you hold stress in your body? Is it in your shoulders? Is it in your hips? And that awareness can lead to a little bit more softening, which will allow things to function better, everything to function better inside your body. So giving them a suggestion, find somebody that you can work with on your stress. And we frequently refer out to counselors of different types. And We've also created a workshop that I co-lead the workshop with a colleague of mine who is a licensed mental health practitioner, and we lead a myofascial self-treatment workshop together, talking to people about how stress intersects with the health of your fascia and how you can access better emotional health through balancing the tension in your fascia. And that, of course, I've talked about this in other podcasts, but the whole idea of interoception, the better, more balanced our fascial tension is, the better we can feel inside our bodies and identify our emotions. And this might be, okay, this story is coming up in my head, so I have to tell it. I was so proud of my daughter. Her two littles stayed overnight with me not that long ago. And my grandchildren are 8 and 10. And my granddaughter, they were staying overnight, and my granddaughter usually sleeps with me in the bed. And then my grandson sleeps on a little futon that I have in the bedroom. And this time she decided she wanted to sleep on this big beanbag that I have. And so she pulled the beanbag into the bedroom and snuggled up on that. My grandson's on the futon and I'm laying in the bed, and we read some books, and then we turn out the lights, and my granddaughter says to me, "Grandma, my tummy feels empty." And I said, "Well, we just had a snack. Do you need another snack?" And she said, "No, it's not that kind of empty, Grandma. It's loneliness empty." And of course, so I said, "Well, your spot up here is available to you if you like it." And she said, "Okay, all right." And she crawled in with me. And that empty feeling inside of her body went away because she didn't feel lonely. That's interoception. That's an 8-year-old being able to identify a sensation in her body as an emotion. That just blew me away. I think my daughter's really good. My daughter does a lot of editing and help with my content, so she knows a lot about fascia. Okay, so moving on. The next thing we talk about is posture, and letting them know that it's a similar idea to if there's too much tension and we start transferring or moving force around in the body. And we know that the body doesn't function well when our posture is off. If we can't feel comfortable in really good upright posture against gravity, we know our fascia has become too dense and sticky in some places. And I've talked about this in the past too, where if you are really if you're sitting down or standing and you put your hips in a posterior pelvic tilt and then you let your head come forward so your spine is a little rounded, you cannot raise your arms fully. So if you send someone in to do, let's say, free weights, handheld free weights, and you want them to go overhead and they have a head forward posture, their shoulder joint is way out of alignment of what it should be. And they're going to increase their risk of causing a problem. And it could potentially be a serious one as well. But you're going to get a lot better outcomes if you work on posture before you start lifting, especially, or any repetitive movement with or without resistance. And I talk about this in the posture class that's online, but there's evidence out there that says athletes who focus on posture first their trajectory of improvement in their skills might start off a little slower, but they will surpass their peers who don't focus on posture. So why wouldn't we apply that to ourselves as well? The next area is the lifestyle part, and I just barely touch on this, but thinking about, I call it lifestyle, the quiet side of health. And I'm not telling people they have to be perfect with their lifestyle. By lifestyle, I mean sleep and hydration, positive experiences and supportive relationships. You don't have to be perfect, but all those things fuel our body. It's not just food that fuels our body, it's all those other things too. And if we can improve that and provide better fuel to our body, we're going to function and perform better. We're going to have more success with our fitness program. Next is stability. And I talk about this in another online course as well, but there's a fitness coach that trains Olympians, and I can't remember his name right now, sorry, but he has this quote that you can't shoot a cannon from a canoe. And so if you think about, like, the first thing that comes to mind is a quarterback throwing a football. If he doesn't have a really strong core, he's not going to be able to throw hard. And then also the guy that's out there trying to catch the ball, if it's coming in really fast and hard, if he doesn't have a good core, he's not going to be able to catch that ball either. So you have to focus on stability. And I'm telling people, please don't just think that's sit-ups. Please don't do sit-ups. But thinking about how you're training your core first and how that really needs to be in place before you start doing anything heavy with your extremities. Then joint mobility. We need full range of motion in our joints. And it doesn't have to be perfect, but we need to get close to that normal range of motion if you're a person that can achieve that. And I know not everybody can. Symmetry is important. So thinking about, do you have an asymmetry? Working with a practitioner, we look at asymmetry in our clients' bodies as well. Working with someone who can help you identify your joint mobility and symmetry. And then finally, recommending to people that when you go to choose your exercise, that you incorporate variety. Finding exercise that doesn't just make you sweat or stronger, but also encourages full range of motion, encourages some stretching, encourages appropriate breath work, and something that challenges yourself. But at minimum, finding something that's going to help you maintain the functional capacity you need to move through this year and well beyond. And that's what we really need. It doesn't matter how old we are, but when you start getting up into my age, we have to think about that, especially if you're a woman out there who's postmenopausal. You really, really need to be thinking about that. So I do have a really basic course that covers all that information, but more in depth, and it's called the Fascia-Informed Woman. And I created that. It's a public-facing course that really takes a simple look at these concepts, but a little more in depth. It's more video-based than reading, and pretty easy to get through. And have had some pretty good feedback on that little course. But anybody can take it, because if you're a practitioner out there listening, you are a person too with a body, and all this applies to you as much as it applies to your clients. So, all right, well, that is enough for today, I think. Thank you so much for listening. I am working on another deeper science-based, well, I like to think everything I do is science-based, but, a lot of it's based on my clinical experience as well, which is part of, the triad. So anyway, that's coming. It's nearly done. It just need to find the time to get it recorded and out there to you. So thank you so much for your patience and not having put anything out for a little bit. Glad to be back. I hope everybody has a great 2026. You've been listening to the Fascia-Informed Therapist Podcast. Be sure to subscribe so you don't miss new episodes. And if you'd like to go deeper, check out my continuing education courses, both online and in person. You can find them at fasciainformed.com. Thanks for listening, and I look forward to next time.